The Perrone family, Carolyn, Roger, and their 5 daughters, settled into the multi-acre home in Rhode Island in 1971, and they would stay until 1980. Throughout the first years of the family living in the farmhouse, they would experience what they claimed to be extreme paranormal activity, even sinister activity in some cases. The activity began small, but would gradually progress. After she had swept the floor, Carolyn would notice a small pile of dirt appear in the middle of the room. Then the broom would simply disappear and then reappear. In the kitchen, a scraping sound could be heard coming from the kettle. Roger's job at the time would have him on the road, leaving the girls and Carolyn alone in the house. Carolyn would eventually express concerns to Roger, who would quickly dismiss the occurrences of just simply being in a new house. Later on, however, the occurrences the family would experience would begin to turn from innocently odd to frightening. At 5:15 every morning, the girls claimed their bed would shake them awake. The girls would begin to catch glimpses of a small boy or a man and his dog at the top of the stairs. Some girls would even say there was a spirit in their bedroom who would kiss them goodnight. When the family entered the basement, a strong odor of rotting meat would be so strong it would force them to leave the area. Also in the basement, the family reported being watched, as if someone was right behind them. Roger would eventually experience some of the activity himself. He would feel a hand on his arm, or the sensation of being touched on his head by an invisible entity. As the family tried to live their normal lives, under the circumstances, it was the girls who noticed a change in the atmosphere, and Carolyn would unfortunately become the target of that negative energy. Carolyn began noticing bruises on her legs that would seem to never heal. She was also pinched and slapped by an unknown force. After expressing her terror to Roger, she vowed to leave the home and never return if something wasn't done. Ed and Lorraine Warren were contacted to investigate the home and did visit on several occasions. It was decided that a seance would be performed in the home. According to Andrea, the eldest daughter, during the attempt to contact the spirits in the home, Carolyn began acting strange. Carolyn suddenly spoke with different accents, then spoke in several different languages. Her voice changed into something dark and unknown. Andrea would later claim that after Carolyn finished speaking in the unknown voice, Carolyn suddenly lifted in the air, still in her chair, and was thrown across the room. The seance ended, and Carolyn eventually returned to her normal self. The Warrens pleaded with the Perrones to allow them to perform an exorcism, either done by themselves or the Catholic Church. Roger, having witnessed enough, and concerned for his wife's mental state, asked the Warrens to leave the property immediately. The Perrones would stay in the home until 1980. Their financial difficulty at the time, having invested so heavily in the home, prevented them from simply packing their bags and leaving the farmhouse behind. The paranormal activity in the home became less frequent after the seance, but according to the family, it never stopped. Bathsheba, the main demonic entity in the movie, The Conjuring, is said to have been a witch who murdered a baby in her care and hung herself on the property. Research done by independent sources say there's no evidence, however, to suggest that Bathsheba was a witch who cursed the land where the Perrones lived. Though there may have been deaths that occurred on the property, none of the people in life were anything other than just people. The paranormal activity in the home today has been investigated, but nothing close to what happened to the Perones from 1971 to 1980 has ever been recorded. Yet. The Warrens would continue to investigate high-profile claims of paranormal activity, including the claims of Annabelle, a doll that was supposedly possessed by an evil entity. But another doll, 1,500 miles away, now sits in a museum behind thick safety glass, is still actively cursing those who get too close.